Hello and welcome to the Talk Tonight podcast today. Got a special guest all the way from Walsall. It's Jack Cattell. How are you doing, mate?
Oh, I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, brilliant. Obviously, we've got Harry here as well. So,
Hello.
my first question for you, Jack, is how did you start singing / songwriting?
Started songwriting when I was about 14, and I never really sang. I've been in a few bands playing bass primarily. Never really had much confidence in my voice. But once those bands sort of fell out and we all kind of went our separate ways, I had songs that I wanted to go out and play, but obviously I had no one else to sing them for me, so I just started singing them myself at open mics and stuff, and seemed to get a bit of a buzz around it, and released a record and never looked back really.
Very nice, very nice. When did you actually start writing your own songs?
Started writing. I'd say the first song that I wrote that I'd have been happy to go out and play, and still do go out and play now, I think I was 15. And it was a song called Just Come Back, which very catchy. It was very basic. The chorus is pretty much just a repeat, but it still works to this day. It goes down really well at gigs. So I'd say 15 was when I started writing songs that I was sort of happy with, and they weren't just cliche reworks of other people's songs.
Very nice, very nice.
So you mentioned about that you had a record out. So what was the writing behind to keep trucking on, like the writing process, the recording process? How was that for you?
It's a bit of a tricky one, that one. It's one that I've been toying with at the moment in terms of taking it down off socials, because at the time I didn't have any real backing or any contacts in the industry at all. So I went into Urbana's in Birmingham, which is a big recording studio. It's more of a rehearsal rooms, to be honest, but they've got the facilities to record. I went in with Bob Chill, who was the sound engineer at the time, and just recorded. I think we did 2 days, but it was on a very tight budget, especially to do an album. And looking back, it was rushed. I was happy with it, don't get me wrong. I'm still proud of what we achieved in those 2 days, but some of the songs on there warranted a bit more time. Mainly Hollywood Nights, which I think is one of my best songs still to this day. So we're in talks at the moment. Now we've got a bit more backing behind us and a bit more leadership in the background. We're talking about hopefully bringing that down off Spotify, keeping a few tracks up that are a bit more polished off it, and bringing some of them down and reworking them, and hopefully we'll be able to get that back out to you in the next year or so, and it'll sound how I wanted it to sound at the time.
So it's almost like a remaster sort of version.
Yeah, pretty much. Like I say, it was, how old was I? I think it was 2 years ago I released that. So I was 20, 21, and a bit naive. I didn't really know what was going on in the industry, not like I do now. I've obviously got a lot more contacts, and to release an album when I literally just started out was probably not the wisest of moves. But like I say, it got me something to give people, and people bought the album, and I was really thankful for that. But yeah, I was never really settled on how well it come out. From my perspective, I was proud of it, but I knew it could have been better.
Well, actually brings me on to my next question. I was going to ask you if you had a band in the studio, but from the sounds of it was just yourself.
For the first 3 recordings that I put out an EP in 2017, which was it was just a bit of fun, really. It wasn't even anything serious. I was never thinking of taking my solo stuff really that seriously. So I recorded it at my mate's, in my mate's attic, the first one, and that was completely solo. The album was completely solo. And then the EP, I started working with Sam Stringer from the Amp Studio, which is like a mobile recording studio. And he'd put an ad out on Facebook. And then that was more of a full band sound that we've got. So I've got Josh and Ali playing bass and guitar, bass and drums,
Yeah.
Who play with me now, and we recorded "Love Me" as a full band. So that the latest single that we've got out now is the first full band single that we've had.
And they're obviously the people that play live with you.
Yeah, Josh and Ali play live with me. We had Josh's his good friend Paul Meredith. He plays lead guitar. And I'll say this now. I'm not a talented lead guitarist at all. I'm very bad. So we were lucky enough to have him in the studio with us. He doesn't play with us in the band, but yeah, we got him in the studio. But Josh and Ali play. We play as a 3-piece at the moment. Hopefully, we'll get a lead guitarist in at some point. Whether that will be Paul or someone else, I don't know yet. But yeah, we're working on that. I think that'll be the next edition.
Very nice, very nice.
That really does lead on to the next topic. So, what's been your best gig?
Best gig? I need to stop milking this. People need to stop asking me this question, because honestly, the amount of milk I've got out of this is ridiculous. I was lucky enough. I'm obviously a massive Wolves fan, so I've got a few contacts behind the scenes at Wolves at the time. And when we got promoted to the Prem, there was a massive party in East Park. Was it East Park or West Park? One of the two parks in Wolverhampton. Playing in front of 30,000 people, 30,000 crazy Wolves fans who were all drunk. So, best day of my life, mate.
Wow. I didn't actually know that.
I'll still milk that till the day I die. If I come on this podcast again, ask me that question again, it'll still be
But playing to 30,000 people, I don't blame you. Like, how was that as an actual experience?
I've never been nervous for a gig before, really. You know, you have that sort of excitement and that buzz, but I've never been nervous. And I wasn't nervous when I walked out on stage, because I thought, oh, well, it's just going to be, because it's quite a big park. I thought, oh, well, people are going to be dissipated and no one's really going to be like at the stage area and that. Like, you couldn't see the end of the crowd. It was crazy. Honestly, I was so nervous when I walked out and realised how many people were there. And you can't see the end of it. It's ridiculous, man. And so, yeah, it was certainly eye-opening, that's for sure.
Is that like really made you want to get that again, like in the future?
Of course. I mean, well, we wouldn't be doing what we do if we didn't want that as sort of the end goal. I mean, you know, I'm happy, you know, whether it be at the level where we're just earning a living from this and that's it, or whether we're at the top of the top. I mean, we dream of being at the top, but we know how hard that is.
Yeah, of course.
So the main focus for us, I think, is to get to a level where we've got a good audience that will follow us around the country, and we can just go out playing shows and not have to do a proper job, I suppose.
Yeah. Would you say, like, what's the aim? That's 10 years. Where do you want to be?
I mean, if I'm being perfectly honest, I want to be right at the top. But you know that it's not as easy as it's not as easy as that, is it? So we've got to put in the hard work. But in 10 years' time, I'll be happy touring, playing shows, and earning decent living from it. I mean, I think that's the short-term aim. Obviously, the long-term aim, we want to be the best that we can be.
Yeah,
we want to be the best. We do want to be the best band in the world, but it's easy to say that and dream about that, isn't it? You've got to put a lot of hard work in to make that a reality. It's not just going to be, oh yeah, well, I think I'm going to be the best band or best musician in the world. I know for well I'm not the best musician in the world, but what we pride ourselves on is how hard we work, and hopefully that'll take us places that perhaps more talented bands who haven't got that work ethic. That can't get to.
I feel like people like appreciate work ethic more nowadays, because like they see like, oh, this guy's worked really hard on like his songs and his like writing ability. It's just like people like that rather than like I've seen some bands that have like a really good work ethic, but they're not actually that good, and like they're like reasonably leveled out. Like don't want to go back to them.
Catfish
like
yeah.
Maybe Catfish, but I was more thinking of the Sherlocks, maybe.
See, I'm a massive fan of the Sherlocks.
Oh, really?
Another good friend of ours, Jack Fletcher and his band. They're good mates with the Sherlocks, and he's been out on tour with them, and he says they're a lovely bunch of lads as well. It's not just that they're obviously talented musicians, but yeah, he said how hard they work behind the scenes. It's crazy. But that's what you've got to do, because there's so many bands. Every man and his dog now is in a band.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to have that edge on people, and you can't lose ground on someone just because you're slacking off and thinking, oh, well, I can't be bothered today. If you can't be bothered, then like that's fair enough. If you want to be in music as a hobby and you just enjoy it, well, that's fair enough, as long as you're honest with yourself and you say that that's what you want out of it. But if you want to be one of them bands getting to the top, you know, you've got to work for it, man.
It is like a massive graft, isn't it? Like,
it's the same as everything. You know,
you've got to dedicate yourself massively to it.
You look at footballers like, for example, Cristiano Ronaldo. I'm not a massive fan of Ronaldo, but you know how hard he's worked to get there.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't just raw talent with Ronaldo, whereas Messi's sort of a bit more. It was just a genius.
Yeah, just a natural ability. Yeah.
Ronaldo's full on hard work, and you can see it, can't you? You can just see it.
I think like you were talking about the work ethic, and like obviously that means you're going to want to spend more time, get the production level up of your album, of your songs. That's been a main criticism I've actually seen this week of the 1975's album, that they've just rushed it out, because obviously it's only been a year since the last album. But they're already at that level of the top where they can do that. So like, I'm not too sure what's your opinion on that, because obviously they have worked hard, but they have rushed it as well. So
it's kind of a double-edged sword. I'm not. What do you guys think of the 1975? I know
I haven't listened to it.
If you think of the 1975, you either love them or hate them.
Yeah, I haven't actually listened to it yet, but I just don't know if I can listen to like 22 songs in a row of the same band.
I'm not a massive fan of the 1975 anyway. I'll put that out on record. It's tough because you want to give people as much content as possible, especially because of how the world is at the moment. I don't think attention spans are there to listen to a 20-track album. Like,
no.
You know, I saw someone on Twitter put the other day, if you're not shuffling an album, what are you doing with yourself? And they clearly don't understand how long it takes to get a track in order for an album. Like, I spent hours upon hours thinking of what order to put a song in. And people are just going and shuffling them. I don't think they quite realise that albums do have that structure. It's not just, well, here's 22 songs.
It's like if you have, like if it's a concept album, isn't it? Like Arctic Monkeys' latest one, it's in that order because it's a story, isn't it?
Yeah.
About Hotel on the Moon. But
I mean, I love the new Arctic Monkeys album. It's probably their best album, but I know a lot of people again hate it because it's not what Arctic Monkeys were before that came out. They were like, you know, proper indie, one good guitar riff in a song. And
talking about sex, drugs, like all the indie nonsense. They're really
but like at their age, I don't feel like they can write songs like that anymore because it just doesn't work, and it would just seem a bit weird, wouldn't it?
Not really, and lyrically, some of the songs on that album, some of the lyrics are just crazy. Honestly, so beautiful, man.
It's definitely taken influence from Bowie, like just writing about nonsense, writing about the stars, the moon. Obviously, he's a big fan of Bowie. It's one of his big influences. But just like to go back to when you were talking about like the layout of an album, track by track. It's the 53rd birthday of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And the Beatles obviously are one of the biggest for diversity and, really changing the game, you could say. And one of their main things was that track by track layout, some of the transitions from their songs into each other. And I feel like people who shuffle just need to go listen to Abbey Road and listen to Golden Slumbers. And what's the one? Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what track.
The transitions, there's the end, Golden Slumbers, and Carry That Weight. All in three. It's basically just one song. And that transition there, that shows how listening to an album track by track really can be magical.
Yeah, and you lose that if you're shuffling, because you don't transition. I know a lot of bands have done that. Green Day used to do that on their albums as well, where it'd be like they'd go from one song into another one. I know American Idiot, which was one of the first albums that I ever bought. I think it was the first album I ever bought. They've got Are We the Waiting, and it goes straight into St. Jimmy straight after. And again, you lose that little bit of story if you're skipping that and shuffling it about. If I'm going to listen to an album, I'll always listen to it in order.
Yeah, you got to.
You have.
So, Jack, who are your musical influences?
How long you got, mate?
I think we've got about 10 minutes.
It's different. It depends what time. Depends what time it is, mate. To be honest, I'll go through so many different phases of influence. So obviously, I mentioned now I used to grew up on Green Day, American Idiot, and 21st Century Breakdown, especially. For my solo-y stuff and the more acoustic songs, that's like Frank Turner, David Bowie. I mean, you know, you can't not be influenced by someone like that.
Yeah, of course.
The Kinks, sort of old school rock and rollers, Chuck Berry, Jerry Lee Lewis, people like that. And then more recently, I've had comparisons to Tom Grennan and Jake Bugg. Now, funnily enough, Jake Bugg's a weird one because I never really started listening to Jake Bugg until someone said, "You sound like Jake Bugg."
Yeah.
And obviously, I'd heard Lightning Bolt and like Two Fingers and that, but I'd never really listened to Jake Bugg. But again, maybe it's just subconscious, isn't it? If it's coming up on your playlist or whatever, and then you're listening to it, clearly it's had some sort of influence on me. Otherwise, people wouldn't be picking that out. So, yeah, that was a bit of a weird one. But him and Tom Grennan are the more recent ones, I think.
There's worse acts to be compared to.
There is a lot worse. Yeah, I haven't had any bad ones yet. Fingers crossed.
So you released "Love Me" in February, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the end of 29th of February, I want to say.
Yeah. How's that done? Like
brilliantly, honestly, we're so happy with it. I mean, we were proud of it and we knew we got something that was a cut above what we'd released before. When we finished it in the studio, we were really happy with what we'd done. But it's hit 10,000 streams on Spotify. That's the first track that we've had to go to 5 figures. And I think it has helped with the band being involved. Now it's not just me and a producer anymore. So we've got four or 5 people's ideas all coming into one. And sometimes that can go the wrong way and you overcomplicate things. But I made sure that it wasn't overcomplicated. I obviously listened to what everyone had got to say. We all listened to each other and the ideas that we had. We tried some stuff out that didn't work. And we tried some stuff out that just worked perfectly for it. So I'm glad that it's got the recognition and people are loving it as much as they are, because we are really proud of it.
Yeah, me and Harry have actually spoke about overproduction in the past, about how a band can sometimes put too much effort into it and it ends up becoming saturated away from the original idea, and sometimes that raw nature of a song can be vital to its importance, you know. And yeah, I respect that. I mean, congratulations on 10,000 streams. You know, not many people can say they've done that. So yeah, congratulations, man.
No, I really appreciate it. Like I say, going back to your comment on overproduction, I think the problem that I've had in the past was when I first started out and did that first release that was just sort of playing at it a bit. It was an EP called It's Over Now. It was my first release, and that was overproduced because I think I just got wrapped up, and I was like a kid in a sweet shop. I was just like, yeah, we'll have some of that, we'll have some of that, and then we'll have some more of that. Yeah, go on, put some of that on as well. And it was just a bit of a car crash, really. It was a bit. I got too excited at the fact that I was in a studio. I could do what I wanted, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then keep trucking on. I felt I didn't put enough on it because I'd had the first one that was overproduced. I was wary of that when I released the second one. Right. So I think that was probably underproduced. And then as soon as we started with good old Mr. Daniels and the adult live EP, then I think I'd got to a point where I'd had the two extremes. So it was just balancing them out to what I sounded like live, really, is what I wanted to capture on the records. Because, you know, if people are coming to your gigs off the back of listening to you on Spotify and you sound completely different live to what you do on your records, no one's going to want to know, are they?
No.
So I wanted it to represent us, and I feel like now we've got the perfect blend of it being perfectly produced, no overproduction, no underproduction, just everything is on the nail, spot on. We take our time with it, we make sure it's right before it's released.
Brilliant stuff. Have you got any releases coming soon?
Well, we did have one planned for July, but I think that's going to be pushed back now until October, November time. It's all recorded and ready to go. But we had a gig planned in Birmingham at Dead Wax.
Yeah.
For July, but because of obviously the COVID situation, I'm assuming that's going to be cancelled. I can't see it going ahead. So we spoke with people behind the scenes and promoters and whatnot, and I think we're going to push that back towards October, November, and then hopefully we'll have another release in the meantime when we can get back in the studio, because I've been writing some songs while I've been in lockdown and nothing else to do.
Yeah, of course.
Been writing quite a lot, so we've got plenty to go out and record and get in the studio with once we can safely go back to it, which hopefully will be sometime soon.
Amazing stuff. Well, keep us updated on the new song, because we'd love to have you back to promote the new releases.
Yeah, definitely.
Me and Harry, big fans, I must say. It's been an absolute honour having you on. Been a privilege.
Nice. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
That's all right.
And wish you all the best in the future. So if you've enjoyed this podcast, you can find Jack's stuff on Spotify, Apple Music, all good streaming services. This has been Talks Night Podcast. Thanks for watching. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
See you later.